I'm in the studio right now with rapper 360, Matthew Caldwell. Matt, thanks ever so much for coming on. Now, you've got quite the story, mate, from being a rapper to the highs in front of thousands of people to the lows of addiction. Did you grow up always wanting to be a musician, always wanting to be a rapper? Because I come from that sort of 80s, 90s era where, R&B and rap was really coming through, and I suppose everyone wanted to be a sort of rapper at that age. How did it come about, and what was your childhood like growing up?
My first dream was to be a basketballer.
Do you know what? When you walked in, I saw you and I thought the guy's tall.
Mm.
You got that basketball look about you, mate. If I'm being honest.
Although I had no hops, I couldn't jump.
Couldn't
man.
you?
No.
There you go,
I'm
mate.
tall, but I cannot jump. So my upbringing come from a very close, tight, middle class family. My dad, I started playing basketball when I was 5, and my dad loved basketball, and he was like, I'm going to turn him into a professional basketball player. Gotcha. So from the age of 5, me and him would just join at the hip, and he taught me how to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was everything to me. I lived and breathed it. I was obsessed with it, and
obsessed with basketball.
Basketball.
And was you obsessed with your father as well? Was there like a great connection there? Did you push your mum out, or was it just a father and son thing?
It was a deep bond. It was more a father and son thing, but the whole family was involved. So
Gotcha.
we were all very tight in that regard, and I very much was like, I loved my dad so much that I wanted his approval for everything. So it was like, that was a way to get it, was by focusing on basketball. But I wanted to do it at the same time. But I think when it probably got to when I was about probably late teens is when I started to drift away and realize that it probably wasn't for me, but I didn't want to break my dad's heart at the same time.
So you were trying to make him happy at the same time as doing something that you loved. But when you were sort of growing out of love with what you were doing, you still wanted to keep your father happy, right? And I suppose every child does that, especially every boy. Your father's your hero. You look up to him. You want to make him happy, and sometimes that can be at your detriment.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well said. He was like a god to me, and he was a superhero. Like, I just idolized him so much. And then he had been just instilling this work ethic into me. So like before school, we'd go to do this special training at 6:30 before school. Then after school, we'd do all these drills and stuff like that.
Oh, so you'd get up early. He'd wake you up early before you went to school.
Yeah. And I probably didn't want to be doing that, but it was like, he was like, if you want something this badly, this is the kind of work that you have to do it.
And he was putting in the work with you.
Yeah.
See, that's super cool. That's
it was
rare.
wild because he was working full time as well. So he was doing a job that he couldn't stand. He was an accountant, but he was just sacrificing his soul to provide for me, my mother, and my brother, because he came from poverty, and he wanted us to have a life that he didn't. And he was such a gun in that regard. He's still a gun, man. He's 80, so he's quite old, and he's pretty frail now, but not.
No, you're not, Dad.
Not what you'd imagine. Not what you would imagine someone at 80. Like, he's still going every day. Like, he's a machine, just constantly working around the house and just doing things. Like, he's a very impressive man. But along this journey, like at about 14, I started skateboarding. I really looked up to the boys that we skated with, the older dudes, and they were all listening to rap and hip hop and stuff. So that was my introduction to rap music and hip hop. And
so it was at the park while she was skating and just listening to your mates' music and
very much like that, like hanging around them.
That's what you do, right? You'd hang around the park, you'd all skate and get up to a bit of mischief and listen to music and pretend you were that rapper or whatever it may be. But yeah, I understand the era that you talk about, because that was the same era as me. We go to the park, there'd be rap music playing, and and then you'd wear your tracksuits, and you'd just be
Yeah.
influenced by that world, wouldn't you?
Oh man, I got swallowed by it. I was like a really innocent kid from a good family, and because I was trying to fit in with that world, I started pretending like I wasn't from that. Like I started shaving my head and like wearing, like just thinking I was
Yeah.
a gangster,
Mm-hmm.
and I never was.
Yeah.
But I thought if I wanted to fit in with the rap world, I had to pretend to be like that. So I got obsessed with writing raps. By about 15, I started entering in these rap battle competitions where they were underage. They would probably put about 12 people's names in a hat, and they would draw them out of a hat, and you'd have to jump up and just freestyle battle like 8 Mile.
Yeah, exactly.
And I from about 14, I think I got a really good understanding of the art behind it and the technical side of rap. So I was pretty dialed in by the time I was doing that. I understood the technical side of it. I understood what it meant to do punchlines and stuff like that. So I was going in there with just thinking I was going to kill everyone that I came up against. And I didn't win them, but I came twice, and I was always getting close to winning every single one. And I got my name out there. That's how I got my name out there in Melbourne. And I ended up getting signed to a record label by the age of 16.
Oh, wow.
Which was a dream come true. I got randomly messaged by this guy that I completely idolized growing up, and I thought I was being trolled by one of my mates. I thought they were just having a go.
They're pranking you.
Yeah. And he hit me up and he was like, we've listened to some of the songs you've put out, and we think you've got a lot of potential. Started working really close with these guys, but mind you, the Aussie rap scene back then was very meshed with the graffiti world, so it was quite a big street influence. So like there's some hectic dudes from the graffiti world where they would stab people if they wrote over their piece or something
over
like
their
that.
tag.
Yeah, it was very intense, and so that kind of made me start thinking I had to be more like them even more. So I was putting on this front, pretending I was like that. And I was doing this simultaneously while I was playing basketball quite seriously as well. And it's really interesting looking back, because like mum and dad didn't like that I was walking into this world where they thought I was going to get caught up in a wrong crowd, which I probably was, to be honest, but they still supported me anyway. Like I remember I had my first gig ever at the Laundry Bar in Melbourne when I was 16, and they drove me out there. They parked out the front. I got up on stage because I was underage. I had to get straight out as soon as I was done. And then they drove me home. And even though they didn't want to be there, I could feel it was causing a lot of tension. They knew how much I loved it, and they were supportive of it. And then fast forward to about 19, I was playing quite serious basketball. Like I was playing a few leagues below the NBL and playing in the ABA as well. And suddenly my vision started going weird in my right eye. I noticed everything started going blurry. I got my eyes checked, and they let me know that I had a disease in my eyes called keratoconus. And I had to get all these operations on it. I had a cornea transplant in my right eye. And then
what does that look like? Is it they extract the eyeball? How do you recover from that?
So it's wild that they can even do it, because it's so small. Like it's just that little curved bit, the lens of your eye. So I went in there and they were like, this disease is going to eradicate your eye until it pops. So if you don't get it done, it will pop, and then
like explode?
It's like it'll randomly just
Leak.
burst, and the fluids will go into it, and then you'll get like a cloudy eye, and it'll be super painful. So they were like, you've got to get this transplant. So I went in there. They cut off your cornea. They put someone else's on there, and then they put stitches in it. And the stitches lasted probably about 6 months. These tiny little stitches. You couldn't even see them unless you were like really close up with a torch. And I was I would go in every probably week or two, and the doctor would take a few of the stitches out at a time. And it was really, really interesting. Each time they'd take the stitches out, it would change the vision because it was pulling on areas of the cornea. And by the time they took all the stitches out, I was blind in my right eye. It was just the vision was gone. The disease had stopped spreading, but my vision is like looking underwater. So that happened, and that, honestly, looking back to it, I didn't have the heart to tell my father that I didn't want to play basketball. But that for me was a blessing in disguise because it just took away my love for the game.
Yeah, it gave you that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how heavily influenced at this stage when you come up to your operation are you in the rap scene? Are you in that sort of street life, not the underground life as such, but that street life of, and I know it all too well, you know, the tagging, the music scene, the rap scene, that's completely different to the life that you have playing basketball, where you're structured, disciplined, you're going home, your mum and dad are there for you, they're training with you, they're feeding you, you know. It's almost like you're living two lives. Did it feel like you were living two lives?
Definitely. It definitely felt like I was portraying myself in a light that wasn't me.
Yeah.
But I think the way my dad taught me to go hard in basketball, I just applied that to music. To be honest, I've applied it to everything I've ever done, even negative things like drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're all in or nothing with absolutely everything.
Yes. Yeah. I was conditioned to that from a very young age. So it was like living two lives, but it gave me an out. Like, because I had this operation, they said you could wear like a glass contact lens and it would help improve the vision. So I started doing that, but during the games it would fall out, or it would like drop from like where my eye is. It would go into my eyelid down there, and they'd have to stop the game and wait till it's like pushed back up again. Or they'd have to search on the basketball court to try and find the lens because it's so expensive. The whole game would have to hold. Yeah, it was kind of embarrassing. And then it just got to a point where we kind of all accepted, okay, this isn't for me anymore. You know, this isn't the path I'm going to go. And then, so I started doing an apprenticeship as a chippy, thinking that I had to do that. And me and my friend were just writing raps, thinking that was only a hobby. I didn't think it would be a full-time job. I didn't think we could ever do that.
You're just doing that for the moment. You're going to write your music and something's going to give.
Yeah. And my best mate at the time, we were writing all these raps together, and we were just in this little bubble where it was just like so much fun. We were pushing each other to be better, and it was all we really did. And then he just randomly, for some reason, he's had this belief, this unshakable faith that we could do anything if we put our mind to it. And he was like, dude, just quit your job and we'll just become the biggest rappers in the country. And I was like, I don't know if we could do that, man. But he believed it, and he was like, we can definitely do it. And so, because he had that belief, I saw it and I was like, all right, I'll do it. And I just quit the next day and ended up going on Centrelink, and just like, we were just started going.
Dealing with these 2-3 lives from playing basketball, structured, being at home with the family, for being, skateboarding on the streets as such, doing your rap, etc., etc. Were you living a healthy lifestyle, or did you start to see a deterioration?
No. Once I was out of basketball, it was all just the rap life. And that was very much what we would do, because I was only on Centrelink, so I was like barely making any money. We were just writing raps during the week, and then on the weekends we'd just go out and party.
That's it, right? Yeah.
So that became every single week pretty much. I think what happened was, because I was basically letting my dad decide everything that I was doing from a young age, by the time I got to that part where I was going out by myself, I was like, now I can do whatever I want. So I felt free.
Yeah.
I was like, I can do everything, even though he raised me to be disciplined and to be healthy and to not go down the path of drugs and alcohol. Like, he's lost so many family members to that. When I felt like I was old enough to make my own decisions, I was like, well, now I'm just going to do everything, and I'm just going to go hard. There's no real
do what I want to do now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's sort of what happened. And because I was on Centrelink, it was only a weekend thing. But then once the music took off, it's like suddenly you got all this money, and I've never had money like that before. It was like, well, why stop? Might as well just keep the party going, and that kind of lasted from about early 20s till 35, I reckon.
Wow. So take me back to the moment that I suppose in the vocabulary nowadays, you went viral. You know, when you started making good money, you realized, wow, this is a career where I'm making really good money. My name's out there. Was there a moment of a song or a rap that brought that brought that sort of dream into a reality?
Yeah, we so at the time we got very much into this documentary called The Secret, which was like all about, I think it's called The Law of Attraction, where you can visualize everything you want, and if you work hard to attain it, you can have whatever you believe in. So we were doing that. We were like writing down all these goals. I remember I put out my first album and it flopped. Nothing happened, and I thought maybe this is just all crap, you know. And then we were Pez was working on his album, and he had this song. It was called Summer Days, and he felt like he wanted to rewrite the song together and do it about going to festivals. So we ended up writing this song called the Festival Song about our experience going to different festivals over the years when we party and just have fun.
And I suppose so many people can relate to that, right? Because
Man,
it's like how many millions of people go to festivals.
we weren't expecting that. Like we didn't realize that it was the relatability of music that
Yep.
that takes it to the promised land. So when we put that song out, we were like, it feels like it should be good. Pez he was actually like, I feel it. Like I can feel this is going to be the one. And then we put it out and it just went bananas. Like it just started going crazy. Triple J started smashing it, and then Nova started smashing it, and Fox and every radio just jumped on board. And it was like, it was bizarre, man. Suddenly Pez has just launched into the stratosphere. He starts touring around Australia, and I'm touring with him to play that song. He's supporting every rapper that comes over from America. And it was like suddenly we got this taste of what we were always working towards. And for me, it was like this confirmation. It was like, we can actually do this. Like if we really go hard and believe we can do it, we can do it. So I just doubled down, man, and started writing even bigger goals, things that were way beyond what I thought we could actually do. I was just like, might as well shoot for the fence, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And over the next probably couple years, started working on an album, which would have been my second album. And I put that out and had all these goals thinking it was going to do really well. And then it ended up exceeding everything that I thought it was going to do. I ticked every single goal that I had, and it just went way, way beyond what I thought possible. And then life was different from then on. It was like I'd always desired fame. I'd always desired money. I'd always desired access to women. I thought those things would make me happy. And then I got them, and it was pretty fun. Like I won't lie, it was great to reach that kind of goal, but it very quickly became toxic. And it was like, I thought this is everything I wanted, but it wasn't.
So from album one, which you said was a flop, and with the success of the second album, did and like you said, with accessibility to absolutely everything from money to fame to women to you name it, drugs, alcohol, whatever it may be, did you find that once you had all of what you wanted and more, did that drive and hunger, does that naturally go, or does it, or do you get even hungrier and even more driven, but for the wrong things?
Yeah, it was like I attained all these things, and then it wasn't enough, so the drive only increased.
Yeah.
But I just needed more.
Yeah.
It was like I needed more money.
Yeah.
More fame.
More women.
More women.
Yeah. More of everything, right?
Yeah. Nothing was ever enough, you know. And that was kind of the running theme. It was like my self-worth was tied to my success as an artist as well.
Yeah.
So if I was killing it and my career was booming, then I was happy. I was fulfilled. I was loving life. But then when things started going downhill, that kind of made I was unhappy. It was like everything was just tied to the charts, if that makes sense. It was
And
horrible.
and then what you do ultimately is you try and chase that high, right? You know, that natural high that you obtain through grafting, through being obsessed from the first album to the second album. That sort of goes, and then that natural highs that you have to work so hard for, you think that they should come. So did you start looking for synthetic highs? Did you start, you know, going down the drugs and down the alcohol route? And how easy is it when you've got absolutely everything at your disposal, when you're at the top of how easy is it to fall into that?
Man, it was very easy.
Or was it progressive, or was it just
It was progressive early, but then when the money was there, it was like I was all in. And I remember I used to read books like Scar Tissue by Anthony Kiedis and the Motley Crue autobiographies, and I used to read about them being these rock stars living this sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle, and I was like, I want that. And like, to look back on it, it's bizarre because, like, I remember Anthony Kiedis was a full-blown heroin addict, and lots of the Motley Crue were as well. And I romanticized that too. Like, I was like, I think being a heroin addict is gross, but if it's coupled with being a rock star and having a lot of money, then that's actually quite attractive to me, and that was appealing to me. So
interesting?
all the partying that we were doing, I was like, going up on the weekends, everyone knew me as this guy who was so loose and could drink a lot and do all these drugs. But they didn't know that on the days afterwards, when I was coming down or when I was having a hangover, that's when I started reaching towards the prescription pills like OxyContin and stuff like that, or Xanax and things like that would help me
mask. You thought you were countering.
Yes.
But you were just digging yourself a deeper hole of addiction, right?
Yeah, I was navigating the come downs and navigating the lows, and then I would have drugs to bring me up again. It was like constantly trying to figure my way through with chemicals, and that spiraled out of control super quickly. Like, it was by the third album, I was full blown addict, like out of control, trying to just. It was weird. It was like I was willing to sacrifice Matt Caldwell if it meant that 360 was killing it. You know, it didn't matter what happened to me personally, as long as my career was doing well and I was successful and making money. I was cool with whatever I had to go through.
Did you think, coming off of the natural high of your second album, that could you separate the two? Could you identify what was a natural high and what was a synthetic high, or did they all feel like highs to you from the success of your second album? Does that make sense what I'm trying to say there? Because I get going down the alcohol and drugs route, because it's a way of getting yourself back up there, or thinking that you're back up there, but it's not like a natural high, is it?
Nah. So before the career really took off, I could differentiate between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But then when the career took off, they were both joined together. Yeah. So all the natural highs were fueled together with synthetic ones at the same time. Yeah. So it was like both at the same time.
You couldn't separate the two. You were just going down what you thought was the right route, but was a spiral. Do you recognize yourself from your second album to your third album, looking back at it now? Are you a completely different person at this stage, or?
I remember with my second album, I was very much just embracing who I was. I feel like it was a very authentic album. Mm-hmm. And then once it got launched and became successful, a lot of the rap community turned on me because it was a very commercially successful album, which is not cool in those circles. Yeah. Like, I was suddenly labeled a sellout. I was labeled a pop star. People were like, he can't even rap, kind of thing. And because I come from a background of rapping and really kind of worshipping the art of rap, I got consumed by trying to prove myself to them. It's like before my career, I was trying to prove myself by pretending I was something I wasn't. And then when the success came up, I was like, now I've got to pretend I can. It wasn't like pretending. I've got to prove that I can rap to them.
Yeah.
That's what if you listen to my third album, a lot of it was driven by that motivation. It still had the poppy elements and the radio songs on there, but a lot of the songs was kind of almost directed to try and appease them.
Do you think that there was an element of jealousy and envy, and people always want to see you do well, but when you're doing better than them, they want to pull you down, and they use anything against you. Like you said, commercialization, like a pop star rather than a rap artist. Do you think there was an element of that as well?
Yeah, for sure. Like in Australia, there's a lot of tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah.
And one thing I always think about is I remember there was this group of young dudes who were so supportive of that exact same album, right, when it first came out. And then by the time it was like really successful, they had completely turned on me and like called me a sellout personally. It's like I knew them personally. It was like, what is happening here? It's the same music. I don't know.
Jealousy and envy. That's what that is.
Yeah. But that really got to me, man. Like I really wanted people's approval. Like that was something that was always important to me, was other people's validation.
It's like with your dad, right? We started off this conversation and going back to approval, where you wanted to do everything to make your dad happy, even if it was at your detriment. And it sounds like that was a theme that carried on through your career.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I feel like it's like I was so in tune with what people approved of that I knew how to navigate in the world to target them. So it's like I had a few instances early on in my career where I said some things that caused a lot of controversy and a lot of backlash that I wasn't ready for. And I wasn't even expecting. I was just being honest with how I felt, and then got just bombarded with all this stuff. And at that time, because I wanted everyone's approval so much, it was very confronting to me. It's like, I just want these people to really like me, and they don't like me. So it made me feel like I have to change. It's like I felt I was bad, so I have to rearrange my life to appease them. And I started navigating all my interviews from then on being really diplomatic. And instead of saying what I actually thought, I was like a career politician trying to win the votes, I was just saying,
not being you.
Nah.
What people fell in love with, how you wrote your music, how you expressed yourself through your rap lyrics, and ultimately what got you to the success that you've got. Now you're turning against that, but you can't win either way, right? Because the moment you turn against that and you try and appease, you're not being yourself.
Yes.
You become, you're no longer a sellout. You're a fake.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, man.
It's a hard one to navigate, man.
And for when you start doing that, like I remember when I was 35, it's like I'd been living this life trying to appease everyone else, not being authentic to who I was. And then it's like I woke up and was like, I don't even know who I am. Like, I don't even know what I stand for. I don't know what my morals or principles are, because I'm trying to appease other people. It's like my identity was based on what people approved of. So my identity was always up for grabs depending on the culture and the tides at the time. You know what I mean? It was constantly shifting.
Is the drug addiction getting more? Are you using more and more and more at this stage? Was that your escape? Was that the way that you dealt with things? How did that work?
So for me, it wasn't an escape. It was like I was only doing it to make a good time better, and then it became so common and so consistent that it quickly became an addiction. So I wasn't actually trying to escape anything, but before I knew it, I was a full-blown addict and I couldn't stop. So then I was trying to escape something.
When did you realise that?
Was
there a moment that you thought, "Fuck me, I've got to sort myself out"?
Man, it was on the third album, I had done one tour which was massive. It was the biggest tour I've ever done. It was 5,000 people.
It's a big crowd.
Big crowds.
Big crowd.
Really big crowds. But at the same time, it was hard to be present in all of that while I was so inebriated and intoxicated.
So you used to get on stage intoxicated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just got super loose. And I remember, like, I would do, like, the Big Day Out festival and just party the entire time without sleeping. And every time I'd get off stage, I remember my manager coming back and being like, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it because you're killing it. So I was like, okay, and just kept going harder and harder.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was pretty
Yeah,
brutal.
you're on form. So listen, if you're performing well, intoxicated, and that's when you're at your most relaxed, and you keep doing it because
Mm,
obviously you're bringing in numbers. Therefore, you're bringing in money. Therefore, you know the management are sitting pretty. It's
mm,
yeah.
mm.
Wow, that's a huge ask and pressure on you to 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 perform like that.
Yeah, like looking back, I don't think they had my best interest at
Yeah,
heart. You
yeah,
know what I
no,
mean?
yeah.
And by the second tour for that third album, it was a regional tour, but my addiction had gone out of control. Like it was to the point I was going weekly to the doctor and getting OxyContin, which I was getting on 80 milligram tablets, which is for people dying of cancer. But my tolerance was that high that I needed whatever I could get really. And I would just go in there and say I had a sore back and just get refills every week kind of thing. And I had this tour coming up in about a week. So I went in there, I got stocked up with all the prescription stuff. I thought, oh, I'll hold this until the tour, it'll help me get through it. But typical addict fashion, I went through it in probably 2 or 3 days. And then I had a few days before the tour and I had nothing. And that by that point it was that bad that if I didn't have the OxyContin, I would either have to get heroin or I would go to a pharmacy and get Nurofen Plus, which is it's got codeine
Yeah.
and ibuprofen in it,
Mm.
and I was having 3 boxes of those at a time, which is 90 tablets, just to because my tolerance was that
Yeah.
high, and it would stop me going through withdrawals. So we were 3 or 4 shows in, and I was just doing that every day, trying to get through it. The tour was going really well, and then on the fourth show, I was like, I just want to feel something. So I had 120 instead of 90 tablets, and I started convulsing on the floor. I woke up in hospital. I was on suicide watch.
So you're 3 shows in, you're killing it, and then you take instead of your night fucking 90. I'm surprised 90 didn't. I'm surprised 30 didn't put you on your ass.
Yeah.
So 120, and then obviously you've OD'd. And when you wake up, what's going on? So 1 minute you're going to walk on stage. The next minute, what you wake up in a hospital?
Yep, in hospital with someone sitting there. Told me that I tried to kill myself. And I was like, dude, I would never, ever do that. They wouldn't believe me. Then they bring out my suitcase and they're like, look. And it was like half was full of my clothes, but the other half was just boxes of Nurofen Plus. And they're like, you're clearly trying to kill yourself. And I was like, this is every day, man. Like, this is just me trying to sustain my addiction. And then that someone just come up to me and they're like, here's the phone. And it was my mum. And I had to break it to her. And they knew that I was a bit of a party animal, but they didn't know
The extent.
what was going on with this stuff. So I just had to break it to her and be like, look, I'm addicted to prescription stuff. I've just had an overdose. We're going to have to cancel the whole tour. I'm going to have to come back and get into a rehab center. And yeah, did that. And man, the effect that had on them was pretty brutal, like for my dad to sacrifice so much and dedicate so much into raising us to be these men with integrity and to only do the very thing that he tried to steer us away from was very, very confronting for them. I think it broke them. It also it hurts me to think about what I've put them through. But at the same time, I didn't have the heart to tell anyone. I was hiding it. So this forced my hand. It forced me to come out about my addiction, which was a blessing. That was the silver lining of it. Even though there's not much of a silver lining in there, that was a gift.
There's that ounce, that glimpse of positivity, which was that gift where you're like, I've got a problem. I need to sort myself out, because if you didn't have had that, then the next time you probably wouldn't be here. You'd probably be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about, the silver lining. There is a silver lining in absolutely every negative situation if you're willing to confront it.
Yes.
In a way, your willingness to need to turn up, to need to show up, to need to be present, ultimately took such a big hit on you that it nearly took your life. Do Do you remember or ever were there ever a feeling that you felt like that you needed to perform, that you needed to, people were coming to see you, and that you needed to turn up no matter how much you were suffering? Do you think that was something that maybe subconsciously you were doing, just because you're a people pleaser, right?
Yeah.
So it was like
yeah.
a case of, right, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to turn up. I'm going to be there. Yes, I love doing what I want to do, but I don't want to let the people down that are coming to see me. Was there an element of that, do you think?
100%. And it was like, but it was very much tied to the fact that if I don't do it, then I'm going to lose their approval.
Yeah.
So that was the thing that was fueling the whole charge to try and keep chasing my career, was like, if I don't have this, I lose myself, because this defines me.
So now that you wake up in hospital and you've spoken to your mum, does that flip into putting everything into getting clean? Or was it? I know that probably sounds easier than it is, but was there did you push everything aside and think, right, I've got to, or was there still an element of that? Right, I've got to get out and perform.
No, I went to detox for a month.
Fully committed.
No. I was committed to was getting back out and touring, and I wasn't even ready to stop. But they put me on this medication that was a replacement, so I couldn't get high. I could just live my life, but I had to take this thing every single morning, and that I wasn't ready to stop. So I still had these habits. Anytime I was feeling off or anxious, I was reaching for tablets and stuff. And
would you get them?
Yes. Yeah. I was
easily.
Still, yeah. So that was like that was probably from about 2014 to 2020.
So you're like on a treadmill. Just, you're taking one step forward, but the treadmill's taking you back.
Yes. Yeah. And I go into at about 2019, I was so overweight. I was 35 kilos heavier. I was unhappy and just no good, man.
I'm gonna say, mate, you look in incredible shape right now.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That's been a crucial part of it.
Of course.
But it was like, I remember going to my doctor and he was like, dude, you are an overweight drug addict. You look disgusting. You need to sort your life out.
Oh, he was that brutal, was he?
And I remember being so offended, man. Like, I was so sensitive.
The truth hurts.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm triggered. I want to make a complaint, and all this stuff. But then I sort of dwelt on it and thought about it like, well, he's actually right, No one's telling me this. A lot of people around me were probably just enabling me, probably didn't want to hurt my feelings, like trying to navigate how to support me without saying the brutal, honest truth. So I remember thinking back to that and thinking like that was a bit of a moment for me that kind of turned me in the right direction. So I think saying the brutal, honest truth sometimes is what needs to be done. So I remember it was just like, I think I got to go to rehab. I got to try and get off all this stuff, but actually give it a shot. So I went into rehab for like 4.5 months in 2020 during the COVID lockdowns. I went in before it started and then got out while it was popping off, so it was bizarre. I thought that I was going to be sweet. I thought that I was going to have a switch of my mindset, but I wasn't. I was still in the rehab. I was still getting high in the rehab, which is really frowned upon while you're there. I got out, and once I had been reduced off all the medications, I was in such a bad state of mind that the only option for me was I thought the only option was to go down to the pub and have a drink to try and numb these feelings. But I was like, if I do that, mum and dad are going to know, and I can't put them through that again. And then, so my option then, this is crazy. Like this is just so bad. But I went and got Listerine mouthwash and just started chugging on that because it has alcohol in it. And I would take 2 mouthfuls of it and it would give me this numb feeling. It would numb those feelings. And then I would feel okay. I was able to navigate through my day like that. And then I started Googling the effects of what drinking that would actually do. And if you drink the alcohol in Listerine, you can go blind. So I was like, I'm already half blind. I can't do that. So I went to the doctor and told him, which is progress, I guess, because I was actually honest when I'm not usually honest about it. He put me on some different medications and that. I was on like probably like 6 different medications. Yeah, brutal. And from then on, I was like, okay, I need to sort my life out and just get my act together. But I was so unhappy and depressed that I had no motivation. I was like, how do I get myself back? Because I remember there was one time after that detox, I got really fit and I got in really good shape, and I was going to the gym and eating really well. And I felt the best I'd ever felt, but that didn't last very long.
Relapse.
Yeah. And then,
and what was this? It's a great point that you mentioned there, Matt. What's the trigger? What are you fighting? You know, when you're in great shape and you're feeling good, and you know, how easy is it to relapse, or where are the triggers?
Yeah, so for me, it wasn't an escape kind of or a trigger kind of thing. It was like I'd put in 4 or 5 months in the gym, and then I remember leaving it and going like, I'm doing so well, I might as well
Have a week.
treat myself.
Yeah.
To a bit of a high.
Yeah.
And I was doing that, and I'd probably do it every few weeks, but then out of nowhere it just snowballed out of control again. You know what I mean? So it wasn't an escape thing. It was just a reward.
And will it always snap you up?
Yeah.
One way or another.
It was like, I feel like I had such a low self-esteem and low opinion of myself. I didn't trust myself to make my own decisions. I was able to lie to myself and manipulate myself into using drugs through anything that I was going through. I would believe the lies that I would tell myself that, okay, I need drugs now, and I would just go and do it. And now fast forward to after getting out of rehab, and I was still slipping up. I was drinking the Listerine and stuff like that. I then went and started smoking weed, like, because it was prescribed by the doctor. So that was like the justification in my head, even though I knew deep down it wasn't right for me. And then about 2 years ago, I became, I was probably about 2 years ago, my friend became born again Christian. And I was very anti-religion and very against it. But I saw the way it changed him and healed him in such a radical way so quickly that I was like, maybe there's something to this. And I started exploring it for myself. And then about a year ago, my wall came down to it, and I believed in the gospel. I started believing in the whole story of the Bible. And then the moment I gave my life to God was the moment that I was able to completely stop manipulating myself, because it was like suddenly I had the highest authority there is
Someone to
in
be
my
accountable
life.
to.
Yeah. Not
yeah.
myself anymore. I'm no longer relying on my own decision-making skills, which have always been so poor.
Yeah.
I'm relying on him.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it was very instant. Like I was on all these medications. I didn't want to get off them because I was just cruising. And then as soon as I gave my life to God, it's like, bang, you've got to get off all this stuff. And it's just streamlined the process. I've had moments where I would have used in the past, like I get anxious or whatever, and I just haven't. I've just gone into prayer because I know I can't do that. And it's like having him there is the reason for that.
And were you writing, you know, when you were going, just before you found God, all through your rehab, were you still writing?
Yeah, I was. It wasn't that great.
No.
But it was.
You say so yourself?
Yeah, I was still writing.
Yeah.
And then when I got out, I wrote this album probably about over the last 3 years. But yeah, that shift towards God shifted everything. And I used to mock God. I used to mock Christians in my songs. There's so many songs where I just completely disrespect it. I thought that if anyone became born again Christian or started proclaiming the name of Jesus Christ, that they were brainwashed or in a cult. And then when I actually explored it, I'd never looked into it. I was speaking from a place of ignorance. And then when I actually looked into it and explored it with an open mind, it changed everything.
And when you say it changed overnight, you're talking about, you know, cold turkey on absolutely everything, no alcohol. How did that work?
So it was like the weed was instant.
Yep.
Stop that. Then it was like I was on mood stabilizers. I was on antidepressants. I was on other stuff, bipolar and stuff, and I just completely stopped them.
Wow.
Which was and it wasn't even that difficult, which is bizarre. I was on the drug replacement thing that they put me on in the past. I was also on that. I've been able to stop that. And I've got 2 more to go that I'm just gradually weaning off slowly. Yeah.
Amazing, mate. And so your work now, let's talk about your work, because, you know, your whole career has been about music. Your whole career has been, you know, about writing, I suppose, from the heart, right? You write in the moment. Is that right? When you write your lyrics and you write your next album, is it all life experiences? Is it all, you know, what's it about?
My music has always been whatever I'm going through, because I've struggled being honest with people in person or like with my friends or family. I've always struggled sharing whatever's happening. Music was the way that I spoke about it. So that was quite confronting for a lot of people who would be around me. I'd be like seeming like I'm happy and like I'm enjoying life and there's nothing to worry about. But then I'm doing these songs that are dark, talking about, you know, struggling with all sorts of stuff. And that's what I've always channeled whatever is going on, and I think that's been so helpful and therapeutic for me. But with this album, I started writing this album when life started turning towards being fun again. Like I feel like from 20 to 35, everything was black and white and grayscale, and then after probably 3 years ago is like when I started realizing there was color coming back into my life. It started feeling like going from 2D to 3D again. It was like, oh, this is good. I was optimistic about life. I felt like I can actually get my life back together. But it wasn't driven towards trying to build my career back. That was part of it. But it was more about, okay, I just need to be healthy now. Like I'm so over being unhealthy and constantly miserable all the time. I want to do what's right for me.
I feel like you're stepping into life, right?
Yeah. So I started going so hard into the gym, started kickboxing, started dialing in my diet, and just basically I put that all or nothing mentality to everything that was healthy. And then over a few years just started losing all the weight, and got really fit, and that has been like instrumental, man. Like when you go and smash yourself with a brutal workout, if I go to bed any time past midnight, the next day I'll feel super seedy, I'll be very tired, and I won't want to do much. But if I go straight to the gym and destroy myself for like 45 minutes to an hour doing some hectic cardio workout, I will feel like I've slept like a baby. You know, it brings me to life.
Yeah, of course it does. You know, your endorphins are flowing. You start to see a physical change. You start to think a lot clearer. This is what I say to people about exercise. You know, you clear your head. You start to think a lot clearer. That brain fog just goes. What are you doing now? How's that evolved your music? How's that evolved yourself? Because from what we've just spoken about to you sitting in front of me, you look like you're healthy. I gave you a hug when you came in. You're a solid guy. You know, you can tell that you work out. You seem like you're very clear-minded now. How's that affected your work? And what's next for you moving forward?
Great question. I feel like I'm in the best place that I've ever been in. I don't feel like, I know addicts should never say never, that they'll never go back, but I genuinely feel like I won't. Like, I feel like the faith element of my life has been such a big part of it, that is the center of my life now. My music, the album that's coming out this Friday actually is channeled from a place of hope. It's a very optimistic album that is like, I feel like if anyone is going through some dark stuff, it is a good one that'll motivate you in that regard. Like, I went through some hectic stuff during that, like a really horrible breakup, and just channeled it all into God and also exercise. Like, I was in a dark place and just committed to going into prayer and kickboxing rather than turning to something unhealthy. And I feel like going forward, faith is the most important thing to me now. It has become the center of my life, and I'm not sure what it looks like for me, but I feel like incorporating it into my music and talking about my faith quite boldly what I feel like what I feel like God's plan is for me is to come from a pretty dark industry where so much stuff is normalized, like a lot of debauchery, like a lot of that.
Yeah. Dark humor. Yeah, there's a darkness to it, isn't there?
Yeah, like the sex, drugs, and rock and roll
Yeah.
lifestyle is very attractive in that industry, and I feel like he's calling me to go back into that industry and shine his light in there.
Amazing. So what's the name of your album that's coming out this Friday?
It's called Out of the Blue.
Out of the Blue, yep.
First album in 8 years, so
Wow.
that title is quite fitting because it's pretty much coming out of nowhere, but also the blue just represents the darkness.
Got you. Amazing, mate. Well, listen, make sure that I get a signed copy. Thank you so much. Out of the Blue, your next album out this Friday. Mate, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you all the best, not only with your next album, but with your future. Thanks,
Thank you
mate.
so much. Thanks so
Matt.
much for having me, man.